Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast on this gloomy, rainy second day of July. I'm your host, Nicholas Moreano, and if you are watching this podcast on YouTube right now, you'll notice to my left is a very special guest. We have Glynn Morgan, the draft analyst for NBC Sports Chicago, and we'll have Herb Howard from the Bigs. Got caught up with an appointment, but he'll be here as well and talk up some Bears, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for having me, Nick. Appreciate it. It's always fun to come in and chat it up with you guys. Looking forward to the Bears season. And right now, this is the season of speculation.
Yes, and actually that's what this whole episode is all about. A bunch of speculation and superlatives that we're going to give out for some of these Bears players. And, this is actually the time for, people who do cover the team to kind of step away. So how's summer been so far?
Man, it's been a time to get back in touch with the family.
Yeah.
Spend time. I mentioned to you earlier off air that one of my 3 daughters just graduated from high school. Got another one on the way. My wife and I, we celebrated our 20th anniversary. Shout out to my wife, Tina.
Let's go. Congrats.
And it's been fun doing that. My oldest daughter, she moved to Central Illinois. So it's just been a lot of changes, but time to get in touch and stay, with what's going on with the fam, which is always important because that's the reason why you do all these things.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is the time. This is the one down period of the NFL season. It's right now, there's technically nothing going on. So we have to take advantage of what we can, but we still have plenty of great topics for everybody in here. But, before we kind of get into this, make sure to like the podcast for everybody who has not liked it yet. Just give us a like right now. You get it out of the way. And also to subscribe to our podcast, and then also tell friends about us, because once training camp starts and Bears season actually gets underway, football actually is coming back, you're going to want to subscribe and make sure you're up to date with everything that we're doing here. So I'm debating here, Glenn.
Okay.
Obviously Herb isn't here, but I think we can get right into what we want to do. Yeah. So we're gonna give out some superlatives basically, and we put up a poll question here, too, on our Twitter asking Bears fans who was the best player on the Bears roster. And of the selections that we put out, it was Montez Sweat.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
We put Caleb Williams in the poll. You can vote for him. Jalen Johnson.
Solid. And
then you only have 4 selections, so we put other and comment below. And I think that pissed off Bears fans because
I'm already getting it in the comments, too.
Okay, yeah. You were getting it in the comments. There's a certain DJ Moore that wasn't put on there, so I get it. Completely understand.
Yeah.
Glenn, I'm just gonna hand the ball off to you.
Okay.
If you're looking at this Bears roster right now, who would you say is the best player?
I would say right now the best player, and I agree with most of the fans out there, hands down, is Montez Sweat.
Okay.
Anytime you can lead 2 teams in sacks, you're pretty badass. Not only that, but we saw the immediate impact he made once he became a Bear, and you saw how much it helped the defense galvanize itself. The pass rush of sorts, or at least the pressure towards quarterbacks increased tremendously. Other players seemed to fall into line a little bit better. The secondary got a little bit healthy, but with that help up front, secondary became more dominant. We were able to see 22 interceptions by the end of the year produced by the defense, which was tops. And all of that, a lot of that really began, the genesis of that really began once Montez Sweat became a Bear. So I would say that, he's that catalyst. He is that integral part right there that helps that defense, to what we know and we've seen to this point, be productive. And so by that reason, I would say it's him. DJ Moore, it's hard to ignore that, because anytime, he's so good that this guy has probably had about 6 to 8 or 9, I don't forget how many different quarterbacks have thrown to him in his career, and he still keeps producing regardless of who's throwing to him. But I think when we talk about this year, we hold back a little bit because we're like, okay, is it DJ or maybe Keenan Allen might
True,
be?
a little bit more competition.
We'll
yeah.
see. So where with Montez, it's unequivocal. Hands down, he's the best defensive player, and arbitrarily speaking, may just be the best player on the Bears totally.
And Glynn, too, like the thing is, he comes into that defense and it immediately produces. Now he has this offseason to kind of get used to the scheme, get used to the players he's going to be playing around with. Mm-hmm. So what's to say that he can't actually be even better? So it's like, it's hard to argue.
Oh, yeah,
it's not Montez Sweat. And you know what? You mentioned my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And before I actually get into that, we have a special. Yes. Oh, yeah. It's Herb Howard from the Bigs. Let's go.
What's up, y'all?
Perfect timing. Woo. Herb, we are, I mean, we're breaking down the best player on the Bears. We've actually had a similar conversation last time you were on the CHGO Bears podcast. Yeah. But I'm going to let you catch your breath real quick. Get acquainted.
Them stairs ain't no joke.
No. Hey, take the stairs. Don't take escalators. I'll tell you that from experience.
Oh, man, bro.
Yeah, too soon. I know. Too soon. Too soon. But we're all good. I'm going to say it is DJ Moore here, Glenn, for the Bears' best player. And you mentioned the quarterbacks. I actually have all the quarterbacks that DJ Moore has played with. Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, and good old Tyson Bagent. Okay. So regardless of who the quarterback has been, DJ Moore, like you said earlier, has absolutely produced. And he set career highs in yards, receptions, touchdowns last season, and a Bears offense that we can probably say was inconsistent at best when you're looking at all the things that were happening in 2023 and look, since 2018, he's gone over since 2018, over 1,000 yards, receiving 4 times. Only still 27 years old, you guys. So it's like if Caleb Williams is everything that we think he's going to be, this should be the best quarterback that DJ's ever played with. And could you see even more anticipatory throws and where he's catching the ball in stride and being used in an offense where a defense can't just single out DJ Moore. Like Keenan Allen's in the slot. Yeah. Rome Odunze's on the opposite sides. Like it makes it more difficult for defenses just to key in on DJ. Okay. So I'm going to say DJ Moore is the best player.
Let me ask you a question because you're making a great play for like your second fantasy wide receiver.
It's just true. That's true.
But my question leading into that, are we going to equate DJ with being the best player if his numbers don't mirror and his numbers going down or maybe not being replicated, not because of his talent or lack of but because of the talent that's around him? So if that's the case, if his numbers are off, say it's 1,100 yards and maybe 75, 85 catches or whatever, and maybe 7, 8 touchdowns, do we look at him a little bit differently and say he's not the best player? Or how do we grade him being the best when his effectiveness is going to be shared by other talented receivers?
I think that's when watching the game matters, right? To see his impact on the game, whether it's statistical or not, right? You can see how he's pulling coverage to his side of the field, how that open things up in the middle for guys like Cole Kmet, like that type of impact. And even in the run game, right? You can't really put 8 in the box on this team.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like you can't really do that. So I think you got to be able to really watch the game to be able to truly gauge his impact and not just look at the numbers.
But being the best player, as is the question, will he still be considered the best player on the team?
I think he absolutely could be, even without having the most gaudy statistics. He don't have to go for 1,400, 1,500. Like he might, you know what I mean? But he doesn't have to. He can still be the best player on the team. I don't know if that's my pick, but I'm just saying I can still see that.
Okay, then who is your pick? Who's the best player of this Bears roster right now?
I'll say the last time we had you on, we had this discussion.
Yeah.
You're like Montez, Jalen, DJ Moore. It's tough.
It's so many, right? That's rarely been the case around here. You can give 4 or 5 legitimate answers, right? For me, I would go Montez Sweat just because his ability to impact the passer, his ability to impact the game on a lot of different levels. He's a multiplier up and down that defensive front, but also helping the guys on the back end. So I would say Montez Sweat.
Okay. We got 2 Montez Sweats to 1 DJ Moore. But again, I think the thing is, there's a discussion to be had about players that can arguably be the best on this roster. What you just said, Herb, you knew it was DJ, or you knew it was one single player. You need more than that to actually compete and actually do stuff in this league. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's go from the best. Who's the most underrated now? And Herb, I'm going to toss it right back to you. If you're thinking and maybe it's underrated to Bears fans, it could be league wide, but who's underrated on this team?
Kyler Gordon.
Okay.
I think Kyler Gordon is the most underrated player on this roster. I was expecting a huge year from him last year. Unfortunately, he broke his hand early in the season, had to work his way back through that. Never really was 100% in terms of having full use of it, in terms of being able to punch, in terms of being able to, make different plays. He made a lot of plays last year, but I'm expecting him to have a huge season. He's a guy that can do everything that you want your nickel corner to do. He's quick. He's got good hips. He can flip them. He can run. He's athletic. He's physical. He's willing and able to come up and run support. He can cover. He can run. There's nothing that Kyler Gordon can't do. He can rush the passer off the edge. I really, really like Kyler Gordon as a slot corner. I think he's got the total package, and I think he doesn't really get enough recognition. Like I said, the injuries last year, he's only going into his third year. But I think he's going to have a huge season. I think the entire league is going to know who Kyler Gordon is by week 18.
And I think training camp real quickly, too, is going to help him so much going against a guy like Keenan Allen on consistent reps where you're learning from arguably one of the best. And to have that is such a luxury for a guy like Kyler Gordon. He's going to learn every single day.
Can't wait to see that all summer long. Like that's going to be such great value for Kyler just going up against Keenan. We asked him about that, sometime this spring, and he was just like, I'm learning to be patient, right? I'm learning to take that first move because Keenan is so crafty, so it teaches you patience. He's going to have a huge, huge year, and he's going to gain a lot by going against Keenan in practice every day.
No doubt about it. I see it underrated as Patrick Scales. Okay, that's yes.
Hey, that's real.
He does consistently snap it. I think we're going a little bit bigger guys there. But Glynn, I'm assuming your guy's not Patrick Scales, but who do you think is the most underrated Bear?
I was just going to co-sign on what Herb said.
Okay.
And that as far as most underrated poster, this guy's giving you all these poster shots. That's the most underrated, I think. Come on. The league is going to know about him. No. But yeah, I can definitely see Kyler. But the guy I picked was Billings, Andrew Billings.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why, the Bears valued him. We saw that because they restructured his deal, But we saw a team in 2021, 2022 that just gave up on the run. We were just a sieve down the middle. And his presence there helped buoy that run defense to be a little more stout against the run. And you see that it's so tough when it comes to a guy like him because he's not a 3-technique guy. So you're not expecting to get the sack. So you don't see the empirical numbers. There's nothing there that empirically shows what this guy is doing. So how do you say he's underrated? Well, you see the value as you mentioned. You watch the game. Exactly. But on that, but you can also see by the players who are having success around him. And if you look back the year before he got here, and I believe, I can't quite remember. I think it was the defensive tackle. I think he went to the Chiefs last year. I forget his name.
Pennell or Mike?
Close.
Gosh.
Not Mike Pennell, not Suge Mike?
Yeah, Pennell.
Mike Pennell?
Mike Pennell.
There it goes. Okay.
And the tackles more or less from the interior, as far as the team leaders and tackles.
Sure.
You had an inside linebacker who's no longer with the Bears. I think he had about 115. And then the next guy was Brisker. Okay, you don't want your safety being the number 2 guy in tackles. Right. And those combined tackles are about 120, 220 tackles. You look at last year, and you have about 268 total tackles, and those are your 2 inside linebackers.
Yep.
And that's what you want. Granted, you don't want that mean tackles means that you're on defense a lot, but you're getting that production from the middle. It's not getting to the secondary. So you're able to be more stout against a run, and that's kind of where you see that show up. Conversely, it helps the back end again. So those guys could be more effective in the back end, and it helps with your linebackers because now they don't have as many people in front of them and hitting them, as they're able to flow left or right and make those plays, because up the middle is not being a sieve, and they don't just have to try and stay there so much and you get exposed on the exterior. So I really like what he's brought to the team and look forward to what he's going to do second season into the system.
I thought it was a great sneaky signing by Poles when he went and got him.
Yeah.
I knew he would be an impact player for them in the middle of that defensive line, but I thought it was a really good thing to extend him, right? It was clear the value that he brought to the team. You had invested 2 young defensive tackles in the 2nd and 3rd round last year. They need his mentorship. He's been great with that. He's an anchor in the middle of that defense. You can't move him, right? So he's taking on 2 guys, and that's allowing TJ and that's allowing Tremaine to read, flow, get downhill. He does a lot for this defense, and like you said again, it may not show up on the stat sheet. No, you watch the game, and you cannot deny his impact.
Right. And his freaking nickname's a juggernaut too. So I mean, you add that into the equation too. Underrated perfectly fits. But we'll continue to answer these questions. I'll give you my most underrated Bear right after a quick break. And look, sometimes things need to change. One thing that doesn't the great taste of Miller Lite. It was the original light beer, and to this day, it's still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want and less of the stuff you don't. There was plenty of Miller Lite consumed before the Cubs game at our great CHGO Cubs event to Milwaukee. I probably could use a Miller Lite after, again, escalator incident. But again, Miller Lite, great times, always being had. What was that?
I usually don't pass the refrigerator when I come here without grabbing one. I was running in.
always stocked. And why Miller Lite is always the best. Miller, they keep it simple, undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most, a light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975, and no matter how your team changes, you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/CHGO football, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. And we just talked about Miller Lite. I have to tell you about Sunnyside. And Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside is everything you need to elevate your summer. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are on your cannabis journey. Easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Great transparent loyalty program, the Sunnyside Rewards, and just highlight a couple of the Sunnyside's house of brands. You got the High Supply, which offers quality weed that's always available. Buds are expertly grown, lab tested, and available in vape carts. Vape pens, flour, popcorn, shake, pre-rolls, shorties, and concentrates. You literally have everything. And you have the good news. Gummies, rechargeable vape pen, and cart. Perfect for great moments with the crew. Head to Sunnyside.shop and use the code HICHGO at checkout for 35% off favorite brands like Cresco, Good News, and more to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, right buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. All right, I'm Nicholas Moreano, alongside me, Glynn Morgan, Herb Howard, giving out some Bear superlatives. And really quickly, we're going to finish the last topic there. My most underrated Bear. You guys brought him up. It goes perfectly with Andrew Billings. It's TJ Edwards. Yeah. I think when you think nationally of the inside linebackers, TJ's not even considered. Right.
Which is crazy.
And if you look at his stats compared to some of the guys that were, first-team All-Pros like Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, Quincy Williams, he stacks up right there neck and neck. Mm-hmm. And you saw how fast he was playing downhill when guys, when Billings were, taking up 2 blocks. And he's able to go flow sideline to sideline. Like, if you were to ask Bears fans, like, who signed the bigger contract between him and Edmonds,
right,
just based off play, it probably would have been TJ Edwards. So I think that nationally he's very underrated. I see a sand god in the comments. The jerseys are here on the set, but TJ Edwards played, I think, really well outside of that first game against Green Bay, where actually none of the Bears players really played well in the first game against Green Bay. But TJ, I think, showed exactly a great value signing. And, if that defensive line can just make little increment improvements, I think you're also going to see his effectiveness go up. But let's now jump to guys that will take the biggest leap from last season. So it can be rookies. It could be guys that were first-year players. Sure. However you guys wanted to look at it. But, Glenn, I'm going to go back to you. Who's going to take the biggest leap?
This is a tough one. I have to put my Florida Gator bias aside.
Ooh, okay.
But no, I did that some time ago when we drafted Javon. But it's him, Javon Dexter. We're depending on him. True. I mean, it's not like
he needs to be him for sure.
Yeah, he's the one that really needs to make that jump. He's being groomed to be that 3 technique that we've talked about so much. His size is impressive, and you want someone to be able to play to their size. And I think he has. It's been more so, I think, getting acclimated to the NFL, understanding what his role is, learning how to play a 3 technique, something he didn't do at Florida. He was more of a read and react kind of guy. That's kind of how they were utilizing him there. So he showed some progress towards the end of the year. He ended the season with 2.5 sacks. And I think he had about 12 pressures, but no tackles for losses. And if you want to compare him to someone else, I'm like, okay, like what to make that big leap, what am I comparing him to, or who am I? So I compared him with who we thought a lot of people who they thought the Bears might take last year with having Jalen Carter. I look at the numbers, and Jalen, both these guys only had 1 start. Jalen obviously on a little bit a better team, but Jalen, he had 6 sacks. You know, he had some tackles for loss, about 8 tackles for loss. He's a guy who had over 30 total tackles.
Yeah.
So Javon, it's like, okay, that's kind of the, I don't want to say low bar, but you at least need to kind of be there. So there's room for that. But we need him to be better than that because we need him to start. And when you start, you're going to have more time playing, more numbers, but you have to be effective. And we really need that. That's really the engine for this defense. You know, Montez has been fantastic, and we're so much better with having him. But if we have a really good, solid 3 technique, oh, man, dude, the devastation this defense can cause would be fun to watch.
That's what takes this Tampa 2 style D to greatness, right? You can be good, but if you don't have Tommy Harris, you don't have Warren Sapp, you can't be great.
Right.
They need him to step in. I'm not saying he's got to be Warren Sapp or anything like that, but they need him to take that next step. He's the player that needs to take the jump. The player who I think is going to take the jump is Tyreek Stevenson.
Okay.
I love the way he continued to progress throughout the season. He's kind of started off slow, kind of got in the doghouse with the coaches a little bit. You saw him start to give Smitty Terrell Smith some of those reps, and then Tyreek took the job back, and then he was gone from there. His ability to take on the hard coaching that Coach Hoke was giving him, that Coach Hoke was on his ass from day one. Anything he did, it was your fault. It was your fault. It was your fault, right? What was the receiver that was last year that we had from Claypool? Him and Chase Claypool got into a fight. It was Chase Claypool's fault. John Hoke got on Tyreek Stevenson, all in his face. Like, go, you know what I mean? Everything he did was like that, but he kind of took that coaching. At first, I thought he may have been the guy that couldn't take that type of tough coaching. He left, you know, from Georgia, right? He didn't like the situation. He's got a little bit of that, you know, corners just kind of got that arrogance to them. I didn't know that he could take it, but John Hoke tested him and he went through with it. He also learned a lot from Jalen Johnson, constantly gave Jalen the credit for how he studied film. You saw him make a play later in the season. I don't remember who it was against, but it may have been. But remember the pick that Jalen had against the Vikings when he kind of baited the quarterback to the throw, kind of like he was going to go with the one, and then he dropped back under number 2.
Yeah.
Tyreek made a very similar pick later in the season, and he was like, I give all the credit to Jalen Johnson. So his ability to study, his ability to put the work in and continue to improve. He did a lot from week 1 to 18 last year. I can't wait to see what he does in year 2.
Yeah. I love that answer because it's the exact person I put for my most, the biggest leap from last season. I think, Tyreek was learning, too, how physical he could and couldn't be in the beginning of the season. And he was flagged 7 times for penalties.
They gave him penalties for everything.
Everything. In the first 10 weeks, 7 flagged 7 times, but he finished off the remaining 6 games he played during his rookie season with no penalties and had 4 interceptions. So he's figuring out the game, adjusting to the coaching that was being given to him by John Hoke, who is a tough guy, tough dude, but he took it in a positive way. And I think the interception that impressed me the most, I think it was against Cleveland, where he came out of nowhere.
On the goal line?
Yes. And he dove.
And Joku was running down the seam wide open. The announcer's like, he's got him. Tyreek's like, no, he don't.
No, he doesn't. It was an incredible play, but I think that play doesn't happen early on in the season.
No.
Because Tyreek was, again, still figuring things out, still getting acclimated to the NFL game, but then you see him just go right across the field, make the diving interception that he does. And I just think, in another year in this system, hopefully there's a better pass rush outside of just Montez Sweat. He's the one guy that if he ends up on this team having the most interceptions, I wouldn't surprise me at all. No. And you have Jalen Johnson on this freaking team too, a top 5 corner. But Tyreek,
he's going to get more targets, number 1.
Yeah.
And he's more aggressive than Jalen in terms of just Tyreek want to jump everything. It leaves him susceptible to some double moves, but he want to jump everything. His length allows him to make plays on the ball. Like, I'm excited about where he is and where he could go.
It's so funny you guys say that because I was debating whether or not to put him, and I said in my mind, I'm like, he made the biggest leap last year in season.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
And he was someone who I was touting before the draft last year. I'm like, man, watch out for this kid from Miami. And even, I was here, I think the first time I was at CHGO, and Carm was giving me business. He's like, oh, do you really think this guy is good enough? And he wasn't taken. I said, well, the Bears moved up to pick him for a reason. Yeah. He's got the size. All the things that everything you guys just mentioned was the reason why I'm like, this guy's going to flourish. He's going to be targeted more. He's going to have more opportunities. That's going to be that crucible that's going to help, temper his ability to become a lot better. And it's exactly what it was doing. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he's doing, but I guess I was like, do I go with the guy who we need to be better or the guy that I saw already make that leap in my mind? But yeah, I think both those guys are, I put Tyreek, he's a little bit ahead to me.
He kind of arrived late last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we think that he's getting better because just natural progression in his career, or is it just because of the practice reps he's getting against these wide receivers?
C, both A and B.
Too. Yes.
Yeah. All the above.
Yeah.
He's going to, just like we talked about with Kyler, this entire secondary, and I think the secondary is phenomenal, right? I think they could be the best group in the league by year's end. Yeah. And they're going to get better and better just going up against this group of receivers. As this offense gains more continuity, more chemistry with each other, trying to cover those, this group is going to be something that's going to benefit them. The game's going to almost seem easy, right? You don't have many teams with that type of weaponry throughout their offense. So if you can, hold your own or even dominate, against them, the game should be easy.
Yeah, I mean, different body types too, like how DJ looks compared to like Keenan and Rome, like that's what you're gonna face in different teams, and like I think that those practice reps, those training camps gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be so much fun when we get down there at House Hall. A guy that I almost put down here, and I just switched at the last second to Tyreek, was actually Tremaine Edmonds. Only because, like, again, we were talking about TJ Edwards, how he was the best linebacker on the team. Right. But, I think Tremaine later on in the season played better than obviously the beginning. He had the 4 interceptions, which is a career high for him too. But if he takes another
2 of them
jump,
was from TJ anyway.
Yeah, true. So if he takes another jump too, I mean, you're talking about we had Tremaine Edmonds on the podcast a little bit ago, and I asked him, like, do you think you're the best duo in the NFL right now? I mean, they could be.
It's up there.
If they're not,
it's the 49ers. Like it's not.
Well, how depending on how it comes back from that injury.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
No doubt. We have now the most to prove, you guys. This one, I wonder if this may be one where Riel might be in line, but I'll go first here. The most to prove on this Bears roster, I put the right guard that's not the right guard that may be the right guard.
Maybe the right guard.
Nate Davis, the guy who signed a 3-year, $30 million contract, who's supposed to fit this scheme, be at least out there practicing.
Sure.
I think that when you're thinking about this Bears roster as just a fan, you're looking at all these spots like, yeah, they've upgraded, feel good. Right guard. Nate Davis is not practicing again. What is he kind of going through? I think that's the one spot and why he's the most approved for me this season, because we just haven't really seen a lot of Nate Davis. And some of the games early on that he did play, they weren't the best. I think he did improve as the year kind of went on, kind of figuring out who he's actually playing alongside. But there's a lot for him to gain in this season if he can be out there, because now the Bears have a little bit of depth. Will Ryan Bates end up being the backup right guard if he doesn't play center? Like, there is some guys that I think would take his job if he's not at least getting on the football field. So most approved for me is Nate Davis.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that.
It is. It is.
It was so obvious. I said, let me try and find somebody else, because
there we go. Okay, I love it.
Pick him.
Right.
And when I think about that with Nate Davis, I'm like, I think it's maybe the most approved to himself more than anybody else.
Good point.
This offense is going to be a little bit different than what it was last year as well, for what he brought in for. It's not going to necessarily be as run dominant, so to speak. So I don't know where his effectiveness, because he's more of a mauler than he is a pass blocker. Yeah. So I don't know how discombobulated he's going to feel in this offense going forward. So I think he has to get his head right to make sure that, he hasn't lost faith in his abilities based on what happened last year, and maybe not quite sinking in this year. So that's tough. He's in a tough spot. So I just want to stay away from him. I don't want to do the Grinch 10-foot pole. Stay away with that. But for me, I put Khalil Herbert.
Okay.
And it's a running back, so I don't know how important he is towards the the overall aspect of the team going forward. But for this season, for himself, I think he has the most to prove, because if he's not going to be with this team, he has to show that he can be good somewhere else. He hasn't been the starter that he thought he would be. He has backup type numbers. DeAndre Swift coming in here is automatically pretty much assumed to be the starter. And DeAndre's a great pass catcher. I mean, DeAndre's averaging about 49 catches a season, over 350 yards a season. And we just saw Khalil get 20 catches last year. So his effectiveness, he can't say, hey, I can catch the ball. They're like, yeah, we got a guy that can do it better. He hasn't had 1,000 yards yet. DeAndre got 1,000 last year. So he can't say, hey, I'm doing this.
Sure.
But he has the size, he has the speed. And not only that, but he wasn't picked. He wasn't picked by polls. wasn't a selection. So, and he's in the last year more or less of his contract. So to me, he has a lot to prove in terms of getting that playing time because Roshan's right behind. I'm sorry, not Roshan. Johnson's right behind him. There.
Yeah, Roshan.
Roshan.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. He's right behind him. And even the young guy that they got free agent, that might take some tick from him because he can kind of wheel. He can kind of catch the ball as well. So, Khalil Herbert, I don't think it's endemic in terms of how successful the Bears are going to have to be per se, but he needs to prove that he can be that solid backup, that he has an ability to be a starter. So if it's not with the Bears in terms of long-term professional viability, that it can be somewhere else.
Or before we actually finish, the most underrated guy on this roster, we're going to go to a quick break. I have to tell everybody about ComEd. It's getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being for all of us who share it.
Yeah, the electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So, Steven, what should business owners do?
Well, Nick, they should go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
And make sure I heard that right, Steven. Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
You heard me perfectly. Yeah, go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
Everyone go check out ComEd. And then you got to check out a product that I literally use every day. It's C4 Performance Energy. It powers explosive energy with 200 milligrams of caffeine and provides enhanced endurance with carnosine beta-alanine made with clinically studied ingredients, 0 grams of sugar or artificial colors, and carrying that NSF certified for sport label. C4 Performance Energy is the athlete's choice for elevating performance. And look, C4 Performance Energy fights muscular fatigue, empowers enhanced muscular endurance with energy you can feel. And C4 Performance Energy is available in a wide variety of amazing sugar-free flavors, including delicious collaborations like grape popsicle, strawberry starburst, and orange creamsicle. Literally any of those flavors, you can't go wrong with them. And like I said, I literally crack one open in the morning, go to the gym, good to go for the rest of the day. But C4 Performance Energy, elevate your performance with energy that hits.
That is not a lie. You be having them things all the time.
It's
and Hallis all the time. Every time I come back there to your desk, I'm like, yeah, they go another one.
it just gets me through the day, and like I like the taste of them too. So that I don't know if that helps me or hurts me, but especially at the gym though, if you're waking up early, you need a little pick me up. C4 does that, but Herb.
So Nate Davis was definitely the one for sure.
Okay.
But I'll go. Braxton also crossed my mind. Braxton Jones also crossed my mind as somebody. I just think the Bears like him. Like I think the Bears are okay with where he is in his development, and I think they continue to be satisfied with his play. I think Caleb is kind of low hanging fruit on this thing. The reason I don't really want to say Caleb is because it's not a lot of pressure on him, right? So when you talk about the most to prove, like if he has an okay year, he's gonna be gone. No, it don't matter. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be the quarterback next year. So, the most to prove is kind of tough to put that on him. I kind of want to go off the field if I can, break the rules.
Do it.
If I can color outside the lines a little bit. Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron has the most to prove, right? You got Hall of Fame receiver. You got another receiver on a Hall of Fame trajectory. You got a top 10 wide receiver with immense talent. You got a top 10 tight end. You got the number 1 pick at quarterback. You got all these pieces around you. You got this versatile running back that can do so many different things. How can you utilize all these different pieces? I think, to me, he's the biggest question. He has the most to prove. I done gave you everything. I done gave you everything that you should need to succeed. I know the offensive line's got to come together on the interior. They'll figure that out, hopefully. But other than that, you got everything you're looking for. You got to paint this picture. We gave you all the tools to be able to do it. I think he's the biggest question mark, and for me, that leaves him as the person with the most to prove, even though he's on the sidelines or in the booth.
I like that answer a lot. I'm seeing even like Coach Flus is the most approved this season, but they, a better roster now. Like the Bears, they should be, when it comes to December, January, the Bears should be in that graphic in the hunt, or they should be fighting for a spot. It should not be any more of this. Like they're already out by that time of the year. When we go to Soldier Field, Herb, we already know, well, we ain't going into any playoff games in January. It ends right here once this final game ends. So I like that. We're putting the coaches in here as well.
They should be a playoff team, man. I'm not ducking that. Like, they should be. Like,
especially because all the real like quarterbacks are in the AFC. Like when you really think about it, a lot of them are over there.
And y'all should have won 10 games last year.
They should have won 10.
You should have won 10 last year. The team is better. Like, you should win. Like, I don't. In Chicago, when something about football or baseball, we're like, maybe we shouldn't. No, you should. Like, you should. Like, it's put the expectations on them. They got a team that should be in the playoffs. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl contender, not yet. I think that window legitimately opens next year for them. But this year, they should be a playoff team, and ain't no reason in hiding from that.
I mean, completely. I think everyone in this chat completely agrees with that statement too. There, Herb.
Braggs wants to know who has more to prove. Is it Eberflus in his third year or Waldron in his first year?
I think Waldron, for everything you just said, because of the talent around him. I think Flus, to some degree, proved aspects of his coaching ability last year. If he didn't, he wouldn't be here. You know, he had to step up. You know, the coaching situation became toxic in terms of people that had to let go. You know, and that team wasn't healthy. And, you know, it helped when you get Montez, that helped him out tremendously. But even with that, you still have to incorporate a new guy, you know, with your defense and make it work. And pressure was on you. He had a lot of pressure on him. So I think he proved his ability to coach, which is why I believe he says, you know what, no, I'm going to keep making the play calls. I'm good. I got a defensive coordinator, but I'm still going to make the play because it's like I need to be in control. And we see head coaches who are offensive coordinators do that. So why not have a defensive-minded coach be in charge of the defense? I'm okay with that. I think he realized the importance of that. So I would say Waldron, because you do have all this talent. And the most important connection right now is that relationship between the quarterback, the new guy, the number one pick, and your job as offensive coordinator.
I'll echo that. I think Flus did a good job of kind of navigating those tough times last year, and I think they kind of right the ship. I know, obviously, Montez coming over, but I think a big turning point was Flus taking over as defensive play caller. I thought the defense was playing backwards to start, and then he kind of flipped it around and put more of the onus on the back end and started to help the front four, bringing, you know, timely pressures and things like that. Then you start to see the turnovers come. So I thought he did a pretty good job with that. I still think his job's on the line in terms of, you know, you got to get this team to reach its potential, and I'd say that's the playoffs. So I still think he has to do that. But I agree with you that Shane's role right now with the pieces that he has, I think there's more pressure on him to prove, you know, his worth.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we're not saying that, of course, Flus is not without his faults. I mean, we can all go to like the Cleveland game, dropping Justin Jones in coverage, like. You know, like
unbelievable.
That should never happen. But you did see, and I think,
and I was ready to fire him after week 4.
I think Braggs is right there with you too.
Denver game. I was half expecting to see Poles walk into that post game press conference. Like, yeah, we got him up out of here.
You know, it's funny. I think he has most to prove as a head coach, but as a coach, I think he proved he can coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, if he had that 3 tech, that maybe Javon Dexter can be that guy, which we're all hoping can, and a guy opposite Montez Sweat. How different does this defense? Could this defense look with the secondary that they have? Like, I think Flus would do really well with that. All right, you guys, we have one last little question here.
All right, what we got?
We got the most important player not named Caleb Williams. And I'm going to start this off here because we'll see. I have a guy that you actually mentioned here, Herb. I have Braxton Jones as the most important player, not named Caleb Williams. And the reasons why, I look at, well, one, if you look at the depth at the left tackle position, if Braxton Jones isn't your guy, are you going to like Larry Borum there with your rookie quarter? You have all these weapons, but if you don't have time off that edge, that's not going to sit well. And let's say you don't like Larry Borum. Karana Magaji, your 3rd-round pick who hasn't even practiced yet, who's dealing with an injury.
I don't want to see that.
That doesn't sound enticing at all. So I think you said it, like, it seems like the Bears, they believe in Braxton. They want to see him succeed. But if he doesn't,
you got a problem.
That's a problem when you already have things going on with the right side of the offensive or the interior of the offensive line. So we don't need to add any more question marks to this offensive line right now. You obviously have your right tackle and Darnell Wright.
You need those 2 dudes to play.
You need them to play and play effective. They need to play effective. So for Braxton Jones, I think this is a big year for him to kind of prove that he can consistently just elevate his game. And I think the bull rush, handling the bull rush was a big thing after his rookie season. Did he get better at that? I think a little bit in year 2. So now this is a jump for him to show that he can put himself in a position to play alongside Caleb for a long time here. So I have the most important player outside of Caleb Williams, the left tackle, Braxton Jones.
Okay, I want to hear yours.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good choice. I'll stick with a guy that we've been talking about just because like his job is so important. It's Javon Dexter. Like he's just. I know we've been talking about him for a lot. He fits a lot of these conversations.
Yeah,
but his job is so important. I don't know if it's more important than left tackle, especially considering the depth or lack thereof behind him. But his job is so important, and if he is a difference maker, this defense can be great. Like this defense can be great if he's a difference maker. I know they still got to figure out the opposite end, but if you have your answer at 3 technique in this defense, I think he can be. The dude is huge. He's athletic. He came to spring ball looking in shape.
Yes.
Looked like he's been working on his body. You know, he improved his get off as the season went along. If he's ready to take that next step, you got Coach Washington bringing in his expertise on the D-line, should help him take another step. I think he is the most important player on this team, not named Caleb Williams, because of the job that he has. This defense can be great. They have that type of potential at every level of this defense. If he answers your 3 technique, and I mean definitively answers it, like, nah, I'm here to not just be a placeholder. I am a disruptor. I'm going to change the game. I'm going to make those types of plays. If he's like that, this defense could be special. I think he's the most important player.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah, I like both of you guys so much so I don't even want to talk anymore.
No need.
You know, it was tough because I'm really trying to think outside the box when we had these questions, and not just for conversation's sake, but to really think about it,
Gary.
And for me, it's Byard.
Ooh, okay.
Because he's stepping into a spot where he's going to be counted on to be the quarterback of the secondary.
Sure.
Here's someone that if he plays to his ability, what he's done for his career, and that's averaging about 93 tackles a season, that's something more of a physical presence that we haven't had at that free safety-ish type kind of position, but it also allows Brisker to really be able to be the ferocious, attacking secondary guy that he's been in terms of being able to go for sacks. You can blitz him more and feel comfortable because Byard's back there.
Yeah.
And he's able to see what's happening with his experience. It also helps buoy that front 4 if they're not creating the pass rush that we know that's going to be a problem. We know it's going to be a problem. Let's just be honest. It's going to be an issue. We don't know about the other side, opposite Montez. We still keep talking about Javon Dexter, if he's going to be that guy. Can he be? Is he going to be good, great, average, what? We don't know. That secondary, we're going to have to – that is the deepest, best unit on this team.
No doubt.
The receiving core is right there. But the receiving core is not as
secondary, man.
Right. The receiving core is not as deep because if one of those guys, particularly DJ or Keenan, goes down, now you have to depend on guys who you really have a lot of questions about. And you're going to have to depend on your tight ends a little bit more. So you've got but that secondary is deep and strong.
It's legit, man.
It's straight legit.
Even the number 2s, like they.
Yes, Terrell.
Like, I like all those dudes too, man. Like,
and here's the other reason why I think it's really important, because he's only signed through 2025. So a lot of guys are contracts come up in 2025 in the secondary. So, and he's 30. I think he's 30 right now, so he'll be 32 by the time it's over with. He's going to be important, I think, not just this year, but next year, should the Bears target safety in the draft to come along, someone that they can bring along that can learn underneath them. You need him, not just this year, but you need him going forward. I just think he's as important in a leadership spot as Montez is for the front 7. I think him for the back 4.
This is why I bring these guys on. Like, we have great answers, great conversations with all these questions, and they obviously do a phenomenal job. Actually, Glenn, you mentioned the draft. I saw you were like already looking at 2025. Like, this man is nuts. Like, I start my.
He be on it.
I'm honestly learning just from watching like your segment, like the players that you're already looking into, and it looks like edge rusher might be something that the Bears can look into 2025 a little bit.
Most definitely. I mean, we've been asking for the last several years, could we please draft someone, in the top, one of our first round picks be an edge rusher, and there are going to be a lot coming out next year. I imagine that that's probably going to be the position in the first round that's drafted the most. I can see my floor is 10. I see 10 edge rushers. And with Abdul Carter at Penn State now switching from linebacker to edge, he might be someone else just because of athleticism alone and wearing that number 11, which is really special at Penn State. He may
Let's go LeVar Arrington. That's why I wore 11. Like when LeVar Arrington's That was the reason for me.
Yeah, no
Him
doubt.
And Dante Culpepper.
Yeah. And so at that position is going to be really huge. You've got Pierce out of Tennessee.
Okay.
Again, I'm a little biased, but no, he's really good. He's exceptional. And not only that, but edge rushers that kind of fit the 4-3 type edge rushers that we're really looking for in terms of size. You got Nick Skirton, who was at Purdue but now transferred over to Texas A&M. You've got Princely Umanelli. I might murder the last name. Umamanelli, I think that's how you say it. And he transferred from Florida, and now he's at Ole Miss. So you got guys with this big, 6'4", 6'5" type guys, 265, up to 280. And there's a kid out of Arkansas, I forget his last name, Landon something or the other. But he's like huge, like 6'7", 280. So his wingspan is ridiculous. Yeah. And so these are guys that would fit our scheme a little bit better, and someone that they're good against the run, but they have enough length and athleticism, and not only that, but the versatility that they can maybe move inside. So if you have someone, and I mentioned it earlier on Football Night in Chicago, that maybe you can have Montez Sweat slide inside, not every down,
Sure.
But every now and again, if it's like
that'd be nice,
3rd and long, like 3rd and 12 or longer, you get him on the inside with his size, but his athleticism and quickness, his know-how. And then you have another edge rusher who you can either leave on the outside or slide inside. You've got Booker on the outside. I mean, you can have speed, length all over the place. And Jervon, it'd be hard to run against that.
Yeah. And
it'd be even harder to pass against it. And with the secondary we have, and with the length we have in the middle with our linebackers, I mean, dude, it's so many tip passes. I really thought last year we would have a lot of interceptions, because you look at the system that Eberflus has had ever since he was defensive coordinator with the Colts. It was big on pressures, not so much sacks. And I want to say, I think he averaged about 14 interceptions a year while he was at Indianapolis. I think 18 maybe the last year. I thought with him being here with the Bears, that going into this past season, the Bears had a shot at it just because of the length on the defensive interior and the exterior, and with the guys in the middle. And it didn't happen early on, but I felt better later on when they finally did what I thought they could do. And just think about that next year, if you do get that edge rusher, if you do get that size on the edge, and you have that versatility. But receiver was another position, because, again, we don't know if we're going to keep Keenan.
Yeah.
And if we don't, that makes, it very important to get another wide receiver. I like a guy from Arizona, Territora, McMillan, or T-Mac as he's affectionately called. That's a guy that reminds me a lot of like 3 different type of wide receivers.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah, he plays a little bit like Michael Irvin. Again, if you don't remember, go look on YouTube.
Always good.
He has the size of like Mike Evans, but he also plays physical and has that reach in terms of catching through and around people, like Kenyon Coleman, who's now playing with Buffalo. Or Brandon Marshall, for Bear fans, remember how effective he was. Territora has that type of athleticism and ability and effectiveness. But as I thought about that, and I looked at the Bears, and I just mentioned Byard, and this is why I went to him, we might need somebody as a safety, because we've got, I think, 4 guys' contracts are up in the secondary in 2025. So you might want to get someone in now, in terms of next year's draft, so the least that they can kind of be brought into the culture and go forward. And there's a kid in Georgia, Malachi Starks, who has the speed, he has the length, he can play in the slot, he can play in the box, he can play deep, a 4.3 speed. He's got, I think he ran a 200 in like 21.6 seconds. So he has that burst, but he also has a long speed. And he's been playing for 3 years at Georgia, so he has a know-how. He's playing in the SEC. And only thing he has to prove is that he has to come back after he had a shoulder injury or shoulder surgery, I think in the offseason. So we'll see what happens this year. The playoffs, I expect Georgia to be in there. So if he can play a long season, 12, 13, 14, 15 games in the playoffs, that's someone that, and if we think the Bears are going to be good, they may be drafting somewhere between 18 and 26. That would be a good season for us. He would fall in that spot, because safeties don't usually go high in the first round. But at that spot, I'm not upset if we draft a safety.
I'm just impressed by your like draft coverage this early. I like you, and there's a couple other guys whose draft coverage I just really, really respect, because I don't do that. I do not do that. Like how y'all like, oh, I went through 1,000 prospects. Why? We're gonna get 6 of them. I'm not doing that. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not. Let me know when he's a Bear, and then we can talk about him. I am not doing work on 1,000 kids. I'm not doing it, but I'm always extremely impressed by it, and it's great information. And then when one of those guys does land, he'll be like, oh, look, that's Duke Glenn was talking about. You know what I mean? But I'd be like, y'all, you know the second string safety at Washington? Really? Okay. Go ahead.
I hope Bears fans are taking notes. I hope they're taking notes, man.
It's fun stuff, man. It's
yeah,
fun stuff.
It's a fun time grinding down tape and learning about these guys. Real quickly to kind of close out here, this has been a common question I was asking Bears fans. What topics do you want to hear about? And one that's been coming up the last couple of weeks is Caleb, of course, Caleb Williams, but specifically like how the Bears should approach him in the preseason. And if like, is this somebody that you want to see out there more than what you typically would see out of a rookie quarterback? Do you guys have any strong feelings on what you want to see out of Caleb Williams in this preseason? Like, do you guys even anticipate him playing in the Hall of Fame game against the Houston Texans? Like, what is, I guess, any strong thoughts here on Caleb Williams, how often he should play or what his reps could possibly look like?
I think he needs to play as much as it's safe for him to play. And that's really nebulous. I understand that.
I get it, though.
But, completely understand it, yeah.
And it's more to quarterbacking. I say this time and time again, not that because I say it really matters. It's just more my frustration. There's more to quarterbacking than just throwing the damn ball.
For sure.
He has to be able to get under center, read the defense, drop back with his back to the defense. He has to get comfortable with that. You don't do it every play because you don't want to expose him, but he has to learn how to do that comfortably enough. The exchange between center and quarterback has been an issue for the last couple of years on this team. Mm-hmm. You got that. I mean, it starts right there, people. Mm-hmm. If you can't get that crap together, everything else is going to be crap ass. So it's endemic that he gets as much as he can, but safely. Not only that, but developing some type of connectivity and chemistry with not just the receivers, but understanding how his blockers are going to block. Knowing who's going to be actually blocking for him. True. Knowing that when he breaks containment and he rolls out, who's rolling with him? What side he can feel more comfortable rolling to. So I think maybe half a quarter or a quarter or whatever it is, however many plays or series you want to have for the Hall of Fame game. But when it gets to the preseason games, I want to see him out there. So that's 3 games. So 3 times 4 is that's 12 quarters. I want to see him out there at least 6 to 7 quarters before this preseason is over with. So at least that.
I want to see him a lot too. The conundrum becomes, like everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. Because Keenan ain't gonna play that much. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't really want him out there throwing the ball to Simba. I definitely don't want him out there behind any sort of makeshift O-line. So how much is Tevin Jenkins gonna play? How much is Nate Davis gonna play? Is the starting center spot gonna be solidified by then? Like those are kind of the ancillary questions that will kind of lead to the decision that you make on how much Caleb plays. I want him to play a lot, as much as possible. But to your point, as long as it's safe to play. Right. And they got so many proven vets that aren't going to play as much as he would need to. And I don't know that you want him out there, putting him in harm's way with guys that are not going to be contributors for you come the regular season. So that becomes the question. Like when Keenan comes out, when DJ comes out, you don't need DJ out there running 100 routes in the pre. He don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Right. And so when he comes out and Keenan comes out and Cole, do you leave him in then? Because those guys don't necessarily need to be out there. Now they are learning a new offense, a lot of new pieces in key positions, so they do need to build some chemistry. So that may, afford them a little bit more time in terms of getting those vets on the field with him. Mm-hmm. But when they come out, do you leave him in? I don't know that you can.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting question. And two, Eberflus was asked about this, and it looks like they've been paying attention to guys like C.J. Stroud last year, Bryce Young, and Eberflus said they all got about between 45 and 65 reps in the preseason. So at least they're monitoring that. But also the other thing, too, with Caleb, this is his first year since, high school using a verbal cadence? Yeah. So that's another thing, too, another little wrinkle that it's outside of just throwing the football. You need to be able to, again, articulate the play to the rest of the offense, get it out there. Shane needs to communicate to him effectively.
We were out there when the secondary was yelling at him. That weak-ass cadence.
Exactly, yeah.
We was out there on the sideline when they was yelling at him like that.
So little things that I think you again, get those live reps in the preseason while you still can before guys are – they're playing vanilla defenses usually in this early on. Yeah. But if, once it comes to real football, there's no handicap, any of that stuff going on.
Justin almost got himself killed in that preseason game.
Buffalo.
You look this way.
You know what I mean? That backer came right off his right side. That should be in your face, but he didn't account for him, and he damn sure didn't see him, and he almost died.
Yeah. Don't want that happening to the number 1 overall pick. And Yeah, so let's avoid any of those types.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think how Caleb Williams performs in training camp should determine how many reps he gets in the preseason? Like, if he's not looking great, do you give him more to try to give him some of that game feel and get the confidence up?
Normally, I would be like, but I think that's a really good question because they can get a lot more done in scrimmages sometimes than they can in a preseason game. Preseason game is kind of for the fans in the sense of us seeing what they're doing. They kind of already know. And when I say they, I'm talking about the coaching staff. They already kind of have an idea. So the scrimmages, actually, you probably get more done rep-wise. And so if he's not showing well, you probably don't want to put him in the game as much because he gets this well. I thought the Bears, back when they had Trubisky, I thought they were hiding him because we don't want you to know what he doesn't know, how bad he is. You know, so I'm like, yeah, maybe there's a reason why he's not playing. And so to your question, if that's the case, but I'd like to believe that Caleb is astute enough as a football mind and as competitive as a football player that he should be doing well enough in the practices and the scrimmages that he can show a little bit more on the field and get that, you know, game time type kind of feel as opposed to the scrimmage where it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that's a great question too. Like if he's doing well, then obviously you probably don't feel the need to put him in harm's way too much. But even if he's not doing well, I still think it comes back to, you know, who is he going on the field with? Like I just don't think that like Keenan probably don't even want to do it.
Yeah, honestly,
you know what I mean? So he might not play much if at all. And then DJ's just too good. It'd be like he's fine, right? You know what I mean? Right. So it really just goes back to what I was saying earlier. It just depends on how much the vets play around him. You're not going to send him out there with, you know, your 7th, 8th, you know, receiver just for training camp. Like that's you're not going to do that to him. So it just depends. Like I think he needs as much time as possible, whether he's lighting up in practice or he's not. I think he needs as many reps, live reps, game reps as possible. But it just depends on, you know, the time that the vets are going to get.
I think it would be really beneficial that one joint practice they have with the Bengals, just to have that kind of one. It's more of a controlled setting, being in this scrimmage, obviously, but
scenarios and situations.
I think that's going to be really beneficial for Caleb and just overall progression in this offense as all the Bears are, you know, kind of learning this new system here. Steven, do we have any super chats or anything that we
do? Tried and true. Crystal Simone comes.
All right.
What's up, Crystal?
We got Crystal here with $4.99 super chat. Have to send love, guys. Hey, Glenn, Herb, I missed you. Nick, missed you at softball. Keep up the great work, guys. Bear down.
Crystal, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Did you hear about Crystal coming on and being, you know,
I heard that she was coming out there.
Yeah, and she did phenomenal. Like she got on base, ran the bases, scoring. Like when we needed somebody, I think Karin put out a message like, we need another, you know, a girl to play.
Yeah,
Crystal
stepped up,
scoring,
got the job done.
Okay.
Amazing. So
Crystal steps up when we need a super chat if we haven't got one, and then like even softball, there she is.
Steps
always
up all the time.
Consistency.
Braggs, really great show today. 3 great football minds. We appreciate the compliment, Braggs. Godspeed on the healing, my brother.
Yeah, man. I showed my daughter what happened the other day, and she just shook her head. She just shaking head emoji. She fell for you, so you got some love coming out from my family as well. Get healthy, man.
Get well, Braggs. Guys, we're going into the 4th of July. Any big plans that we have in the next couple of days, or you guys gonna be chilling? What's kind of gonna go on and for you guys? Anything?
I'll be at work.
Okay. All right, work.
I'm a big fireworks guy, so me and one of my guys, we usually get like a whole bunch of fireworks, and he lives in Indiana, so we'll just get all the fireworks out there and just do it big. And I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I want to do it this year. And I was like, what?
What are you talking about?
Like, we get one time a year.
What do you mean? He's like, he's like, I don't want to spend that, but we overdo it. And we do. Like, we'll both go and, you know, put hundreds of dollars together and just buy all these fireworks, and it'll be this whole production. He's like, dude, they do a fireworks show down the street from the house. I was like, all right, man.
I relate with that.
Killing me right now.
I relate with that so much, especially early on. Like, my uncles and I, we would go buy fireworks, like, dude, like $500.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
It was mostly them. I was younger. And we would have our whole little, like, show where people would show up and watch. But ever since I got a dog, though, I don't mess with fireworks as much.
It scares the dog.
Yeah. I'm like, every time, and people are already starting to fire them off around.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Like dogs hiding under my bed, underneath everything. So it's crazy how it's changed over there. Because I used to love 4th of July.
Now that you're a parent, you're just like, oh, my kid doesn't like it.
Well, let me ask you guys this. I got a notice in the mail saying, and I live in Palos Hills, like saying no fireworks this year. Like immediate tickets. And I'm not talking about like the big ones, like anything. Is that just the Palos Hills thing, or is this out in other towns as well?
I haven't seen anything in the Arlington Heights, so
All right, it's
maybe
time
that
to
might
move.
just
It's
be you.
time to move.
Yeah. Wow.
They couldn't enforce it around my career. I mean, I live in the city, so it's like
Right.
they wouldn't do nothing else if they chased down every firework. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
seriously.
Like, it's nah. Fortunately, though, they do great shows. Out on the lake on the 3rd, they do the great show from Navy Pier. Like it's a lot of good place to watch the professionals do it. I just like to have fun. Somebody said, "Don't JPP myself." Thank you. I'll be careful.
I'll remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fun, man. It's something I always look forward to. So I'll find a way to pop off a few at least.
Yeah, got to. I remember we blew up like a Scooby-Doo pinata one year. I don't know where we got this pinata one. We put I don't know what we put in there, but Scooby's head came off. We're like, boom, there you go. Great way to end that one 4th of July. But it was fun. It was fun.
Got another idea now.
I do. Got my wheel spinning on that one.
There you go, Herb. I just want to thank you guys for coming on, and it looks like everyone in the chat really enjoyed our conversation. But I mean, when you have two great football minds like that, that's bound to happen. So appreciate you guys.
$100 in the mail, man.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Right.
Appreciate the comment.
It's always good to come through and chop it up with you, Nick. You are so dope too, bro. Like just watching you do the reads and then transition back in. You just dope, bro. I tell you that all the time. Just about how you cover the beat in general, but you dope, bro.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations on the engagement too.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of love and support over the past couple of weeks. Appreciate that, man. For all you Bears fans that want more Bears content, Rags is going to be on After Dark later tonight, so make sure you tune in and see what he's got planned for all you devoted, crazy Bears fans on July 2nd. But this is going to end this CHGO Bears show. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. And again, when training camp rolls around, you're going to know exactly where to come to get
it's coming
that
quick,
content.
man.
Yeah.
It's
So
coming
enjoy
quick.
it. We got to enjoy our time when we can, because once it happens, it's happening.
Training camp, but let's not forget NCAA football is coming out. Right around.
That too,
That's
yeah.
real. That's real.
I've been gaming a little bit more lately, so I might have to drop $70 on.
I'm here for all the smoke. Anybody wants to challenge me?
There you go.
I'm here for it all.
I'm looking forward to it, man. But this bit of a dead period, right? The NFL calendar has turned into such a 12-month thing where it's not really much. Some people are like, what do you do in the offseason? I'm like, there's not really an offseason no more. You go playoffs, you go firing and hiring, you go free agency, you go combine, draft, like all it's like it doesn't really stop. But this is a little bit of a dead period. So people are like, yo, what you been? I went to do somebody else's show. And they was like, "Oh, what you been doing?" And I was like, "Nothing." Like, I only came because I like you. Like, I'm not talking about them right now. Like, we'll talk about there'll be another couple of weeks, and I'll talk about them for 7 months in a row. Like, I'm not talking about them right now, but always good to chop it up with you, man.
Likewise,
you
man.
guys.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Tune in.
We all silly like the mayor.